Hello, welcome to the Zero Ends channel. Please like and subscribe. Please enjoy our live.
All right. Yes. All right. What's good, everybody? Welcome. Welcome to this particular broadcast here on the Zero Inch channel. I'm Zero Inch here, like always. And as you know, it's been a while. As you know, here we deal with the politics, some informational news, even book readings here on the Zero Inch channel. Mostly that is the more basic focus of the channel. And like always, you know the deal, the drill. If you like the content, please give this video likes, a thumbs up, a like button. Also, subscribe to the Zero Inch channel. As you know, we're trying to get to 100 subs and probably more beyond. But as you know, there's not much content as you can see here. But nonetheless, when there's content, it's always good to delve in and see what's been out there that's trending. Also, let y'all know I'm also on TikTok as well. I think it's Zero Ends on TikTok. And there might be some other social medias down the line, but right now we won't deal with what we have so far. And let me wind this back. I might play an audio of this case about the OJ thing, as you know from the thumbnail presented below. And also, there's some new turn events that is unfold that I will reveal at the end of this stream. Maybe, but stay tuned. But no further ado, as you know, I'm not gonna be looking at what's going on in the chat room, obviously. So let's look at this article above, and I'm going to probably present it to y'all because this one was very eye-catching, surprisingly. And I heard about this for some time now. I did not give it much attention, and the reason why, because OJ he's transitioned since April 17, I believe. Let me double check when when OJ died. I'm gonna do that right now. I don't want to be rambling. Let me see when he died. I'm gonna look him up right now. Okay, he died April 10th. Okay, and he died from cancer, from the prostate. Yeah, unfortunate. And you know what the funny thing with such advanced medical technology as we see today, you think now for most people that's not aware, they would start correcting some of these disorders instead of just treating it, making little small money off it. Because let's be honest, if you go outside America, you don't hear about constant issues about medical problems, treatment, etc., etc., etc. They deal with the problems and deal with the solutions overall. Even some countries have actually corrected and cured some of these problems than what we don't see here in America. I mean, it makes you question if you as an American citizen person, you think it is feasible or economically smart to keep investing in the American medical system? I might add, it's the question. But I'll leave that to y'all. I'll leave that to y'all to guess. I mean, if I'm a betting man or woman, I will find elsewhere for your medical safety and maybe find ways to correct your disorders if you find you're having these problems alternative instead of giving all your attention to this. Because I mean, things like that, and we all know the issue with black man, you can get checkup all you want, but unless they're correcting the problem or reversing it, all you do at the end of it is patch up symptoms. And I'm a proponent, we don't do patch up. Either you correct the problem or we find a new store. And I think majority of Americans are not at that point now to find another store. And the way how the world is global right now as it stands, I think it'd be in the best interest of yourself to go find an alternate way. I will start using the resource of social media, Instagram, TikTok, those that, especially TikTok. Oh, no, it's funny I mentioned TikTok. Matter of fact, I'll tell you that in a second after this stream. You're going to have to find out other alternative routes to correct your problems. And I'm a man telling y'all this personally, because I understand it. I mean, God willing, trying to keep up. But really, truly, if I had to leave my health in the American social system's hands, that's a remedy for failure. And I know most of you work in there because they make their money. I'm not going to talk bad at something that I get a paycheck from. I mean, I'm sorry. It don't work like that. But anyway, enough of my ramble. Let's look at the article at hand. And let me see if I can pull up right now. Because you know me, I'll go on. Where's this article? And I'm going to play an audio clip of reason why they, you know. All right. Okay. All right. I think I see everything here. And I'm not going to look at it. So let's look at this article and look into reading. And I'm going to play a close to 20-minute mark video of their discussion about it. Oh, sorry. I would play it here, but as you know, my system's not set up for that. Here we go, guys. O.J. Simpson. And let me see if I can see myself if everything's presented well. Very good. I'll lower myself here. There you go. O.J. Simpson, a state lawyer, reversed course on trying to block Ron Goldman's family from recovery. Now, word on the street is when O.J. won his trial of the deletion of Nicole Simpson and what's his name? The guy named Goldman. I think what's the guy name again? You know what I'm talking about, that Goldman dude that got deleted, alleged by OJ back in 1994, around the summertime, I believe. 30 years ago. It's gonna be next couple months. It'll be 30 years since that happened, and miraculously, 30 years later, OJ dies. Ain't that something? Hey, that's something. Anyhow, let's look at this. Malcolm Lavergne didn't mean what he said, or perhaps he meant it, but he has since realized he shouldn't have said it. Hmm. Either way, the executor of O.J. Simpson's estate had abandoned the position that he'll fight to keep Ron Goldman's family from pursuing a massive civil verdict entering against Simpson for deleting Goldman and Nicole Brown. Now, as you know, the verdict that they put OJ under was that he lost his verdict in relation to the loss of Mr. Goldman's life back in 1994, which OJ was supposed to be paying upwards up to $33 million. That's the word that he's supposed to be paying. And I find it very ironic that most civil suits don't go up in the millions. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please leave a comment if you do come to this video, if you give a damn about this stream, of if there are cases that exist right now of not just a black issue, but just a general American issue, that there's someone that files a civil suit and won in upwards of millions of dollars. And when I talk about million, I'm talking about more than what OJ has to pay, mind you. And OJ had to pay $33 million. Let's keep going. I can't tell you in advance. Fred Goldman claims will be accepting Lavergne's told Kevin Dolick of the Hollywood Report, and he claims will be handled in accordance with Nevada law. Previously, Laverge, hold on, Lafayette President Lavergne said this: it may hope that the Goldman get 0-0, and then specifically, and I will do everything in my capacity as the executive, a personal representative, to try to ensure that they get nothing. Laverge said his previous remarks were aimed not at Fred Goldman, Ron's father, but the lawyer representing Ron Goldman's estate. Within an hour of knowing that OJ died, he states he started talking ish, and Laverge said, my advocate instincts was on, you're going to keep ishing on him even after he dies. Fine, you're getting nothing. So. Those were my remarks then. But I backtrace, and they were pretty harsh, remarking and how I'm going in the other direction. Laverge now says he plans to be hyper transparent with the family of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown. Regardless, Laverge represented Simpson for years. Fortunately, it won't be for him to make the final decision and to whether and do what extent Simpson estate goes to. A $33.5 million judgment that has grown with interest to more than 100. Oh my God, there's no way in heck he's paying that. Oh. You must be smoking. If he didn't pay $33 million back in 1996 or 1997 when the verdict happened, roughly 28 or 27 years ago, or 29 years ago, you think he's gonna pay now? You're delusional. Oh God, yeah, that's crazy. Let's keep. Oh, that's it. That's the end of the article. He can go screw himself. Yeah, he can go screw himself. Anyhow, that's the short part of the article, as you could tell. And there's a video here. We'll let it run a little bit. Now, for the good stuff. And I'm gonna give commentary. Let's run the audio.
I suppose the biggest news for the National Football League is the news that has transcended sport, because the activities that O.J. Simpson was allegedly involved in June of 1994 became the thing for which he is best known. And
June. So this is now, by next 2 months, it'll be official 30 years when they try to, arrest OJ in conspiracy or conspiring or in alleged of murder of Nicole and Mr. Goldman. But he died April the 10th. Interesting. Let's keep listening more.
I kind of struggled with this at first because you always want to show respect for the recently departed, primarily for their family members. You want to extend the appropriate condolences. It's a difficult life to go through the experience of the passing on of a loved one. But it's impossible to tell the story of O.J. Simpson without telling the story of the thing for which he is best known. For all the accolades, and he has many from the National Football League, the bronze bust in Canton is just one of the many things he accomplished and earned through his career on the field. His work as a broadcaster, which was phenomenal, great natural charisma. Everybody loved OJ. You know, of all the people that would make that turn, if we had known it was coming and we had a chance to pick one member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame who would kill two people, he probably would have been the last name.
Yeah, and that's one thing that when we look back at OJ's credentials and his history, right? It really speaks for itself that, you know, how a man that so well achieved, and he has good personality, money dude sometimes, weird but funny, would come out the blue, and he divorced Nicole for whatever reasons. And let's be honest, to tell most brothers or black men, this is a message to you. If you're gonna deal with any woman, and we're gonna go there, you want to deal with any woman, right? Please, God's sake, make sure she's not a coke fiend. That's one thing. If anything you have not learned from any channel, including the Zero Inch channel, stay away from non-blacks that have a history of snorting illicit drugs in their nostrils, and you know, yeah. But each his own. You know, he married her, probably had one kid, maybe two kids, and eventually divorced her because of other reasons. Personally, I'm not sure if she divorced him or he divorced her. Nonetheless, you know, she's not a saint, and I think the biggest issue why this is such a big deal, like really, because she said is Caucasian woman in nature, and OJ said he said of, or in essence, is a black man. It's a narrative push say you are the big bad boogeyman. You're evil. You're bad. You're black. Thus, and hence, you will do bad things. You know, you will take non-black women. You will take their innocence. You'll take the box, the coochie, and you will sit there, have your way, and then discard them and then keep pushing. You will go as far as taking their life, which, you know, I find it very ironic that the human experience throughout human history, torture, rape, violence, is the known phenomenon of the human experience. And that's something that I'm not sure why it's this only subjugated to a certain racial group then as human beings, including all men as one same. But you know, each your own. I can't really go into that because let's be honest, when you live in a very weirdo country like this, you know, you expect things like this. So let's keep listening.
One of the last names picked at the time. Everybody loved OJ. To have that spin the way that it did in June of 1994, and it was a riveting experience. And there, you know, are more and more people who weren't alive when any of that happened, from the murders all the way through the verdict in his trial. That is still the number one thing he's known for, Shireen. And it eventually dawned on me after wrestling with it for a few hours, because Kristen Coleman reached out and wanted to do, you know, say, hey, do you want to do a video? And she's very good about prompting me because I get caught up in everything I'm doing. Hey, do you want to do a video about O.J. Simpson passing? It's like, I kind of don't, because I really don't know what I want to say. So I needed a few hours to think it over, and I finally arrived at a very simple spot. It can't be disrespectful to talk about the murders at a time when the murderer has died. It's disrespectful to the victims to act like it never happened and to not talk about it. And look, I know there's going to be people out there who say he was acquitted. He did it. I don't care that he was acquitted. he did it. A civil jury found that he did it, and anyone.
And you know what's funny? The funny thing about listening to this, and I respect. I think this is OJ's estate holder. I think. My thing is this. Right? If he really did it, no matter what lawyers you have, and let's be even go as far as they try and cooperate and try to pin it on him. The problem with this is there's enough evidence, and OJ said that he didn't do it, and he fought it and won. That a lot of people in this country, let's keep real. When you admit to certain things, you have forfeit all your natural born rights and made yourself enemy number one and ostracize yourself to society as a whole. I mean, you actually cap yourself completely in regards to functioning in this Western world we call America. Now, other countries, when they deal with criminality, I think it's different because there's not a revolving door in regards to criticism here in America. And as y'all know, that same year, 1994, miraculously, was when the three strikes bill was put in effect. So a lot of things has happened. Hold on. A lot of things has happened in a period of 1994, 30 years ago. A lot of things has happened. Matter of fact, 1994 was the pivotal year where all the violence that was stewed in America when it comes to urban areas or any violence generally, where people would commit actual crimes, either they take plea bargains or they do the time in jail. They'll come back, do it again, go to jail, come back, do it again, go to jail. It's constantly, you go in those doors that circle. You go right in and you come back out, right and come. It became so heinous that the one they call Mr. Biden that helped constructed this bill, and I don't know if he was the only one that orchestrated creating the bill. I don't know if he wrote it personally. I don't know if he's that intelligent, but and there's some videos out there showing that he's not, but let's go there. That let's be honest. They put a stop to the revolving door of criminality when it comes to serious actual violence in America. And because three strikes were put in effect, a lot of people that were known to do criminal acts kind of took a back seat. And the reason why I mean they took a back seat and why crime went down and kept going down for a period of 29 years, starting in 1995, it tells, like literally, it tells that if you change the environment, the laws, and generally, people are going to act and move differently because there is real punishment. And trust me, the punishment that said if you continue to do this for 3 consecutive times, that's a wrap. You're gonna be somebody's bitch in prison permanently for all days of your life until you meet the dirt. So I'm gonna leave it there. Let's keep playing.
With common sense that paid any attention to the trial or the excellent documentary, the 10-part documentary from 2016-17 timeframe. He did it. A jury found he did it under the lower standard in the civil context in a wrongful death lawsuit. That's the name of the specific type of case that you bring against someone who killed someone else, a family member. Whoever it is that has the power of that person's estate brings the wrongful death case. He was found liable for the killings of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. Nicole Brown Simpson, obviously his ex-wife, not Ron Goldman, the guy who was in the worst possible place at the worst possible time. So that's how I resolved it, Shireen. I've had a night to sleep on it, and I'm not going to pull any punches on this. The man who killed 2 other people died this week. That's the story. He killed them, he did it, and somehow is very easy. He had the money to go out and buy the best possible defense lawyers who muddied the waters sufficiently to get the jury to ignore the evidence, and the prosecution botched the case. That's how he got away with it, and that's how it came to be that when he died, it wasn't behind bars.
I read several stories yesterday, Mike, and one of them was interesting. It talked about O.J. Simpson had a quote in there about he was afraid that when he died, he was going to be remembered for his Hertz commercial rather than what he did on the field. And obviously, that's not at all what he's remembered for in his own.
Well, I totally agree with that. If that is one thing OJ regret in life, that what's gonna happen once he's gone, that is what people gonna remember him. And you must be understand. You gotta understand. And let's be clear. Let's be clear. The reason why OJ would think that, because he knows the racism in America. He's well averse to it. He knows it very well. And that's the consequence when you live here in America as a black person, especially a black man. You're always going to be public enemy number one. They're not going to remember you of the achievements on the field. Matter of fact, they'll say bump that. They don't care about the achievement of the field. They're more concerned about why are you still walking? Why are you still standing? You destroyed this poor innocent coke fiend of a woman that you married, mind you, that you married. That's on you, player. But to know and saying that, when we look at, and this is my thing when people have an addiction of drugs, especially you living in Hollywood and you have money, you always got to go back to your supplier. And depending if OJ was still supplying you money in regards to alimony, because I'm not sure how long they've been married, but I know she might get some alimony at that time. Maybe not. I don't know. That it lets you know that with women back then, even now, you're not really good with money. And not only you're not good with money, you're not good at handling your problems. Makes a question about the healthy minds of people today as here in the West. Because when you're not healthy mentally, and you had to be dependent on drugs, illicit drugs that's harmful to your body and your mind, that tells you you're not really got your stuff together. Personally. And if y'all guys want to leave a comment, y'all can leave a comment in the chat room or subscribe to the channel. Please do, and hit the like button. Let's keep listening. So, like I said, that's one thing his fear, but his fear is really on point. Let's listen more.
On the field, unfortunately, is not what he's remembered for either. It is, as you said, the killings of two people. And I don't know, Mike, people don't know about the Hertz commercial, obviously, a lot of people, because they weren't alive then. But it was a huge commercial. You'd run through the airport and leap over, luggage and all sorts of things in the airport. It was a great commercial and one of the most memorable commercials, I think, when we were probably growing up. But I don't know, a lot of people don't realize how big of a deal that was. It's one of those moments in your life, and there are only a few of those ever, that you remember exactly where you were when it happened. And I remember exactly where I was on the Bronco chase, the slow chase, because the Rockets were playing Game 5 of the NBA Finals, and I wanted to watch the Rockets win, and you had the slow speed chase on the, as the NBA Finals are playing. You also had a picture, a little inset picture of the chase, what's going to happen with OJ as he runs from the police in this slow speed chase. And if you were alive, you still remember that the driver was Al A.C. Cowlings. You don't forget that. And then,
it's funny. So she's talking about the chase back in June of the NBA Finals of the Rockets when they won their second back-to-back championship. At that time, they played this for a whole national TV, not just on text, but everybody watched it that day. I'm not sure how old it was back then when it was I a boy? I think I was like a teenager, maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to recall. But anyway, we all remember that. And it bogged me at the time when I was, didn't know what's going on. It really I find it odd back then to know saying didn't know who they were chasing, to find why were they playing a high-speed chase of a man driving a pickup truck from a a squad of police cars at that time. But as I got to adult age, it made sense now that that was a black man running from his life, from that would possibly might be his last that day, personally. But it's a very sight to see, to find things like that happen. And we never know, depending on what age you were, really understand what we were seeing. But anyhow, let's keep going.
Take it. You remember the trial. You remember where you were when they came out with the verdict in Los Angeles, and it was a stunning, stunning verdict. And I think we all reacted probably the same way. I can't believe he got off. He got away with this. And that's kind of where we are, Mike. And unfortunately, we're not talking about what he did on the football field. And he was great. He was truly one of the greats of all time. And it was incredible. And you and I are about the same age, started to say the same age. We're 4 months apart. So you haven't had your birthday yet. But we would stay up on Monday nights to watch the halftime highlights by Howard Cosell. And you could always bet that O.J. Simpson was going to be in those halftime highlights because he was that good. He was an incredible football player on the field. And we're not talking about that today because of what happened after his football career.
Oh, absolutely. And look, that's a direct product of his own choices, decisions, and actions. Whatever the excuse would have been, if he would have acknowledged that he did it and tried to fashion some defense based on temporary insanity or whatever, he didn't take responsibility. He never took responsibility. He almost took responsibility in that book, If I Did It. And the Goldman family yesterday, in issuing a statement following the passing of O.J. Simpson, mentioned both the civil verdict and If I Did It as the basis for the acknowledgement that he had killed Ron Goldman. I mean, think about how they...
Yeah, and this is my thing about books. And for this should be a learning lesson to a lot of people in general. The last thing you want to be doing if you walk off a major trial, you should not be writing no books, funny books of any of that sort of nature to anyone that potentially could use against you to get compensated personally. That's just my opinion. That's just me. But we don't learn this. We're not going to learn this. I find it weird. And mind you, I get some people, they'll try to say, I want to write a book on your trial. Can we make some money? And I get it. I get it. But personally, that's not a good move, in my opinion. Because it's not like, see, you're how you could say, you're dry snitching yourself. And we all know you didn't do it. But you don't just sit there, put that in certain paragraphs, say, if I would do this, would. No, you don't. You just leave it as bad. I'm glad it's over. Keep pushing, You don't sit there and try to put more explanations or alternatives or what ifs if I did commit that. That's a stupid. Because let's be honest, you are a black man, set nature. And last thing you want to do is you want to poke the bear. The bear is already poked. You don't want to be doing that. I'm just saying. And that's something every person should learn. Anyhow, let's keep listening. Don't poke that bear, guys.
They must have felt at the time and how they have felt for the last 30 years. As I mentioned earlier, Ron Goldman in the worst possible place at the worst possible time. There was a history of brutal domestic violence between O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson. We became aware of that in the weeks and months after the murders. Ron Goldman was the closest thing to an innocent bystander. He was bringing the glasses. Remember that part of the story?
Yeah.
He was bringing sunglasses to Nicole Brown Simpson, and he just happened to be there when O.J., with a knife, killed them both in a frenzied rage. And that, if you haven't seen the documentary, the 10-part documentary, I highly recommend it. I already believed he did it. It helped me understand how and why the prosecution blew it, how they didn't convert overwhelming evidence, DNA evidence that was clearly and indisputably his, connecting him. And there's
But you know, it's funny thing. Come hearing these folks talk. But the detective that was on site investigating this didn't want to even admit that he tampered with evidence. So if this man commit what he did, it should be clear with the evidence presented. But because of the history of LA Police Department and their interaction with black folks, you actually shot yourself in your own foot if you're trying to, let's say, steal one and try to put this man behind bars permanently for so-called the deletion of Nicole and Mr. Goldman. Well, you see, we can't have it both ways. Talking about where was the real evidence? There's no evidence that's clear that said he actually did it. And if it was, no one can drop the ball. We would have sit there and say, okay, the evidence showed proper, lock him up. But throughout the whole entire trial, including the temper of the evidence by the same detective, which they're never going to talk about. And if y'all notice when I'm playing this, they will never talk about the guy, the actual trial, because they could talk about it now because a lot of people that was just born in 1994, anybody that's the last millennium of 1994 or beyond, you would not know about it because you did not live during the trial. You did not see what the trial was, how the trial was conducted. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. I'm gonna play some more, and I gotta step away. Matter of fact, let me check this. 1 second, guys. Stay on it. I gotta check something. 1 second. All right, guys. Let's keep playing.
There's no other reasonable basis to think there was anybody else who would have showed up and butchered these two people for no apparent reason. It wasn't a robbery. It wasn't a hit on Ron Goldman. There was no suggestion that anybody else out there wanted.
How you know that? Let me tell you something. This is why I'm kind of glad we have alternate media. We don't listen to non-blacks because they have a bias towards other groups of people. And I mean that personally. That's why when people said OJ did making fun about it, and here's the funny thing about it. When you're a killer, like a real killer, you don't stop by just taking out and just taste first blood. It's always a recurrence overall. Like a serious recurrence. But you see, they cannot pin it on him. And let's be fair honest. Now that OJ is dead, I expect a lot of them now saying what they're going to say now because they're cowards. They know if they kept talking about it, they were going to get hit with a lawsuit. Like, seriously. Let me tell you something about non-black people. Non-black people are very cowards. Once the lawsuit is not used in their favor, they will shut the up. Real talk. But, let's keep listening.
Wanted these two people to be dead. So the whole thing was a tragedy, remains a tragedy. And I've always felt badly for the Ron Goldman family because they never got justice. The only silver lining for them came from the fact that the civil verdict of $33 million, which I think I saw a quote from Fred Goldman, Ron's father, recently, that number as of a couple of years ago was up to like 90 million plus with interest because he hasn't paid it. But the thinking is he was selling his own sports memorabilia on the side so he wouldn't have to turn that money over to the court process to Fred Goldman and the families of his victims. And that's what led to, one domino after another, that weird heist where he was trying to take back memorabilia that he believed had been stolen from him. And, they do it with...
Wait. So you tell me the man sold what he sold and then he put on gunpoint to get it back? Huh. That don't make sense. If I sold something to somebody, that by default has no value and I'm trying to pay off something. So why I want to go back out my way on gunpoint to put myself behind bars over things that was my ish that I sold? Something doesn't make sense. The math ain't mathing, people. Because remember, they tried to get him on the murder. They couldn't get that. So now they had to find some ways. Because let me tell you something. If you got slapped with $33 million civil suit, I'm not sure what OJ's money was back after football and doing some active stuff during that time. But last time I checked, that's erroneous. And if it's that high, I'm not sure how much he made at the time. He probably might go completely broke. Which I think that was the whole premise of the civil suit. Make it so high, depending what his net worth was at the time. And no saying there's no way in God's green earth he's going to pay. We're going to financially broke him, which they actually accomplished to the degree. He still has a little pension and stuff, NFL pension that I think is roughly $1 million, $2 million maybe. But other than that, if I had to be a betting man, I don't think OJ had that money. But let's keep going.
Do it with guns and they bust in and yada, yada, yada. He did 9 years in Nevada as a result of that. Now, there's a perception that was payback, that was just an effort to make sure this guy goes behind bars for some period of time because he already should be behind bars. But he got convicted through the normal court process. I doubt that everyone, ignored the law, ignored their oath, ignored their duty just to...
Now, you see the disingenuity. What do you think it was? Now, you see, this is why I don't listen to this type of media from their lens. And no person, if you're a black person or a non-black person, matter of fact, if you're a person of what they want to call color, this is nonsense. You have to really critically think, what's the deal here? Because we all know in this country, there's not really much justice for a lot of black folks, especially black men. So for a man to get off the way he did get off, with the tampering evidence and not even actually showing really if he actually murdered these people. And really, to be honest with you, even since then, no one has really did no deep investigation after this trial who really took out Nicole Simpson and this guy, Mr. Goldman, which he was just in the wrong place, wrong time. And that's what happened. And let me say something. This is going to hurt a lot of feelings. If you're a man, you deal with a woman that's on drugs, especially deal with coke, heavy coke below, and these regional states, Nevada, California, be cautious. Be very, very cautious. You'll put yourself in a position that you might F around and find out in the wrong place at the wrong time. Let's keep listening. I'm going to keep playing this through because I want to get through this as quick as possible. Let's listen.
Just to make sure that O.J. Simpson finally went to jail. If the facts are what they were alleged to be, and he had the fair and full process to try to prove otherwise, he wouldn't have gone to prison if he was able to show with reasonable doubt that he was not legally guilty. So he ultimately did the 9 years, and I don't think that happens if he isn't being chased around by Fred Goldman for whatever semblance of justice you can get from trying to collect on a multi-million-dollar civil verdict. Just so the guy who killed your son is reminded, and there's never a night that he doesn't go to bed, and there's never a morning that he doesn't wake up without having this massive financial liability hanging over him. I mean, I applaud Fred Goldman. He's the kind of father I'd want to have if my life was taken from me at an early age, fighting for me after I'm gone. And I'd like to think I'd be that kind of father if something like that happened to my son, that I would never, ever, ever stop seeking justice from the man that I was convinced killed him. Ever. Nothing would ever stop me from doing it. And, you know, yes, the passing of O.J. Simpson creates a trauma for his family, but it reopens the wound for the families of his victims. So, again, there's going to be people who are upset about it.
Yeah, so like any good father, since this man quit, you should be, and every man should fight for their children to find what really happened, God willing, hopefully. But if a person was acquitted, we always got to look at what really went in, who really was involved. Because you see, the problem with a lot of us today, we don't think critically. Like literally. A lot of elements went in the loss of your son that was actually in the wrong place, wrong time, personally. To say this is the only man did it and no other scenarios that they want to tell you, you're not really thinking critically. I think one thing with a lot of people that's so emotional, and this is why if you're a man, you got to get your emotions out of certain things. You always, if you're not investigating, you always want to know what are the scenarios that led to. Did you know even Nicole Simpson? Have you know really inner works? Is your children, especially your sons, dealing with women and don't really know saying, okay, you have this drug addiction history. Are you dealing with suppliers, i.e. mobsters, to get your supply? Because last time check, if she's getting alimony, which probably she is, she's not dealing with just this regular dude on the street. Now, I think they said that. Now, I'm not going to speculate that she was taken out, including him in the house. From what I'm hearing, this is what I'm hearing. But the scenarios, the question, and I go beyond the glove portion of the story. I gotta look at who are the real players now, because this has come and passed, and you didn't get your money because OJ never got it. I'm not sure what lawyer Toy said hit him up for 33 million. You should have dealt with a reasonable number because it was money that you were looking for, and really money doesn't really bring back your son. I know it. It should be something that you know you get paid back for. Because, and matter of fact, let me Google OJ's net worth of 1995. And this is not going to be deprived of what he really made or what he had. OJ Simpson's. And I'm not sure how good Google is in regards to answer this question. I doubt I'm going to get a good answer. Net worth. In now, let's say 1996. Let's see what I get. Okay. Oh, well, look what we have here, guys. This is very intriguing. I'm going to put this in my well, I'm not gonna really. Well, I could try it, see what happens. Let me see how real this is. Yeah, this is a spokes review. I'm gonna put this and read this. I'm gonna stop sharing here. Let me do. Yeah, I'm gonna stop doing that. This is very intriguing. I doubt anybody's really covering this. So let me do this. This is very intriguing. I'm gonna read this. All right. This is from the Richmond Portland OJ's jury hearing. Two sides. Simpson's worth $15.7 million. Plaintiff who count future earnings. All right. Now, I'm not sure when the verdict was, but this is the verdict shown right here. Depending on which side you're doing on counting OJ Simpson either extraordinary, rich, or hopeless poor, according to the plaintiff, Simpson net worth at the end of 1996 was $15.7 million. The defense said he was $88K in debt, and that counts the $8.5 million of compensatory damages of civil court jury awards Tuesday. His financial standing plunged to $9.4 million in the red. The jury, which found him responsible for the death of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ronald Goldman, heard starkly contrasting portraits of Simpson's net worth to Thursday when the case resumed after a one-day break for the final punitive stage of the trial. Daniel Petroli, if I pronounced it right, had lead lawyers for the plaintiff explained that the $8.5 million was the compensation Goldman's parents for their loss, and the punitive damage were intended to punish and set an example. It takes a lot more to punish a rich man than to punish a poor man, Petroli said. Johnny Q. Kell, the attorney for Nicole Simpson's family, told the jury that while the Browns had not sought compensatory damages, they are seeking punitive damage for her estate, which would be inherited by the two children she had with Simpson. Sydney, 11, and Justin, 8. This is going to be your one and only opportunity to act for the benefit of her two small children and providing some measure of punishment and deterrence to the man who murdered their mother, Kelly said. First on the witness stand was Nellie Freeman, a forensic accountant who traced assets in legal dispute. On cross-examination, Freeman acknowledged that a major factor in reaching the $15.7 million figures was Simpson's future earnings capable, which the plaintiff claims were worthy of $25 million over the balance of his lifetime. Mark Rossler, chairman of chief executive officer of CMG, a company that represents the manager, celebrity sports, and entertainment figures, dead and alive, testified that Simpson could expect to generate $2 million to $3 million a year from the sales of his name, image, and $1.5 million annually just from signing an autograph, and another $1 million or so from a book and audio tapes of movies, endorsements, and advertisements. But Simpson's lead lawyer, Robert Baker, confronted Rosler with a newspaper article quoting him as saying that Simpson's visibility as a criminal or commercial endorser will be diminished to vitalize zero. Rossler stood by his figure, noting that statements referring only by endorsements. But Simpson longtime lawyer Leroy Skips Taffy testified that Simpson was broke and that his prospects were bleak. He can't pay his bills, Taffy said. Wow. That's after 1996. I'll put it in the chat room anyway. For those that want to really look at, if you get far from this video, which I doubt most content creators or people that watch will get this far. So I'm stop sharing. I'll put it here, guys. And I'll put it, yeah, I'll put the link there. I'm going to do it anyway. Screw it. I'll let you. And there's probably more links that talk about this, but I'm not going to focus on that. And let me do something else here. And I'm looking at this now. All right. Okay. And I'm looking at some things here, guys. Let me keep playing the audio as I multitask. Let's listen more to this story.
Said about me because I'm speaking as if O.J. Simpson definitely did it. Well, hey, sorry, folks. If you want to get triggered, get triggered. He did it. And I'm not going to pull punches about it. And I'm not going to tiptoe around it. He did it. And my thoughts now have turned to the people who didn't get to live a full life and didn't get to die of natural causes because of what he did in June of 1994.
You know, Mike, you have those things where people say, who are 3 people that you'd love to have dinner with? And O.J. Simpson was always on my list, and people thought that was weird. But I think as a reporter, and you as an attorney and a reporter, you think you're good enough that you could trick him into giving the answer that he really did it. And I always thought that. I would love to have dinner with him and just start peppering him with questions and thinking that I could go, aha, you admitted it. And, you know, probably wouldn't have happened because he never did come out and say that definitively that he did do it. But I always thought that I could get that answer from him being a good questioner, Mike. And yeah, I never interviewed O.J. Simpson. He stole my pen one time as a kid. I was trying to get his autograph when he was playing with the 49ers against the Cowboys, and he stole my pen. So he's also a thief as well.
Oh, gosh, he never was prosecuted for petty larceny for stealing Shireen's pen. I vaguely remember hearing that story at some point in the past. Now, look, if you're going to give me the opportunity to have dinner with 3 people, I'm sorry, I'm not going to agree with you. O.J. Simpson was not making the list. He was not. I was not going to burn one of the spots on him. I want to be able to enjoy the dinner. I'm not treating this as an exercise in trying to interrogate a guy that I already know is guilty. I don't need him to confess. I already know he's guilty. So I'd have made other choices. I have a vivid recollection, and the date was December 16, 1973. That was the first full season that I was all in for the National Football League. I discovered it in December of 1972 with the Immaculate Reception. And it was December 16 of 1973 that he rushed for 200 yards, exactly 200 yards against the New York Jets to get to 2003 for the season. And that was just a big deal. I mean,
yeah. I mean, how much more longer this is? 5 more minutes. I'll play for another 5 minutes. I'll hear these people talk. They're foolishness.
For folks who grew up when we did, O.J. Simpson was the guy. He was the star of stars in the National Football League and burned bright for, 4 or 5 years. But that's a long time when you're a kid. He was the center of the NFL consciousness at the time that I first discovered it. And he was rivals with Franco Harris, rivals with Chuck Foreman in the 1975 season when Chuck Foreman had his best year and O.J. had a great year. They were going back and forth chasing Gale Sayers' single-season touchdown record. I remember that vividly. And O.J. Simpson was the guy who was established. And look, it kind of fell off quickly for him, and he ended up being traded to the San Francisco 49ers, who gave up what became the first overall pick in the draft to the Buffalo Bills, who squandered it on Tom Cousineau. That's a different story altogether. But yeah, O.J. Simpson was one of the great players of the 1970s. Short list, one of the top players of all time. But when you kill 2 people, that stuff tends to get obscured.
He was the juice, and he was running behind the electric company, and it was truly electric. And we should point out, Mike, that they played 14 games back then. Not 16, not 17. They played 14. He averaged 143 yards per game. So it was a pretty incredible season and a pretty incredible career.
As much as they reconcile his achievements, they cannot get over that said you took out this poor non-black woman. You should be doing 20 to life. Matter of fact, you should be doing the death penalty for sake of conversation. But like I said before, you do something bad in this country and you're a black man, you're always gonna be public enemy number 1. That's not gonna change. Not at all. Not this lifetime and the next. Let's keep listening.
For what he did, won 4 rushing titles. I mean, this guy was truly one of the greatest running backs of all time. after what happened, I would have been curious, and it got them off the hook a little bit. But let's say he was convicted of murder. Would the Heisman have taken away his Heisman? And please give Reggie Bush his Heisman back. But would
Oh yeah, they would. Not only that, he'll be smeared as an example of the boogie bad black man. Bad black man. How dare you take out this coke fiend, your once wife? You know, how dare you? How dare you? Now, mind you, the reason I'm saying is because they will not give no oblige to if it was the shoes on their foot person. They would say the same dirty things. If this was like a Caucasian man taking out his once wife that does hard drugs, they would demonize. They would say she is a. Wait, hold on. I do you one better. Where's that song? I think I have it. Let's check. I think I have that track. Let me see if I can find that track. I think I have it. Hold on, I'm gonna find it right here. Yes. Oh damn, I did not got it. I don't know what I did with that track. Ooh, y'all got so damn lucky. I'm gonna find it. No, I'm gonna find that sound bite. Where is it? Okay. You're lucky. You're goddamn lucky. I don't got it. If I had it, I don't got that bad boy. Anyway, let me keep playing. If I find it, I'll play it. All right, let's keep listening.
Would they have taken away the Heisman, and would the Pro Football Hall of Fame have kicked him out of the Hall of Fame if he had been convicted of those two murders? I do have that question, and I do wonder that often.
I doubt that either would have happened. They get so caught up in their rules and their bylaws and precedents and whatnot. I mean, come on. They surely there are people with common sense at the Heisman Trust, and surely there are people with common sense at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I've made this argument in the past because the pushback is, well, if we start down that path, then who else gets taken out? There are plenty of guys who were put in who did bad things that we knew or should have known about or could have known about if the media was like it is today, when it was back when these guys got voted in or back when they were playing and this stuff got brushed under the rug and nobody knew about it. Nobody asked the tough questions and the media wasn't swarming all over the place. I mean, look, I don't care about any of that. What I care about is in 2005, we went through the Hall of Fame and my son was 8 years old. And I had to hurry and buy the O.J. Simpson bust because I didn't want to go down the whole rabbit hole of who that is and what he did after his playing career ended. So I would have supported all along removing him from the Hall of Fame. And I suspect the Hall of Fame would have found a way to stick handle their way around not removing the bust. And part of my evidence for coming to that conclusion, Shireen, is the statement that was issued yesterday by the Hall of Fame. And look, I want to make sure anybody in Canton realizes these aren't Shireen's thoughts because she's one of the voters. I'm not, so I can say what I want to say. Not that it would stop me anyway if I was a voter, which is one of the reasons why I'm not and never will be. But they sent out a statement yesterday with all of his accolades mentioning his broadcasting and acting career after he was done playing, so post-playing career stuff wasn't off limits. But there was no mention whatsoever in the lengthy statement from the Pro Football Hall of Fame about the murders. And again, you don't disrespect the murderer by mentioning the murders when he dies. You disrespect the victims by failing to mention the murders when the murderer dies. Before we go to break, one last point that I want to make, just to emphasize the brilliance on the football field and just to show the conflict.
All right, that's enough of that. Ain't nobody care about that. None with that. That's it. Now, if the shoe's on the other foot, y'all know the deal. What would happen if this was a if this was a white man that was a, let's say, athlete, right? And he deleted his black wife that had the same issues like Nicole Simpson, does drugs, and all the recklessness that was put out about her. They would not look at her so kindly. They would praise the man, their own man, even go as far as to say that he's not only is that he's not guilty, he's innocent, and that someone else probably do it, and they would probably demonize it. And one of the few things they would do, they would have did that will not be present now in the 21st century. But back then, if this song was around, it would come like this. Now you're a single mom. Now you're a single mom. Now you're a single. Showing a baby off. Showing a baby off. They would treat her like she is a single mom. They would demonize this black bitch to lengths that you would never seen before the internet start to really, was still in its infant stage back in 93. I can imagine the tabloids, the articles. They would say that she is a demon. She's on drugs. She should have children. She is even go as far as, because either her white husband divorced her or she divorced him at the time, should be labeled like this. He's here or not, but now you're a single mom. Now you're a single mom. You'll be a single mom. Yeah. All right. Enough of that. So I'm curious. I'm very curious for your thoughts on this one. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Do you believe OJ, and even now they're talking about if they're going to see that money, or even the money existed, from what I revealed to you on today's stream, if the family of the Goldman is going to receive any money, which they're not, because if his network was of that value of that time, even if he sell his memorabilia and all stuff and they got him on the theft, right, it was never going to be enough to cover a $33 million settlement. Never. If your net worth is roughly just under 16 million, there's no way how you're going to cover that. Impossible. That's just impossible. And they know this. They know this. And whoever the lawyer is that got in their heads told them to, ask for that BS amount. I think you need to fire your lawyer. Personally. Yeah. You should fire your lawyer. I highly advise that. Leave your thoughts down below. Like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the Zero Inch channel. Oh, and one last thing I do want to add on. Since we're talking about so much things here, and I did mention TikTok for the sake of conversation. Look what we have here about TikTok that I have to talk about. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can find the article. Here it is. Here it is. And this one is very important for those that did not pay attention. This is USA Today. Sale or ban House approves anti-TikTok measure attached to foreign aid proposal. TikTok days may be numbered after House approved legislation Saturday, which was on 420, that would ban the popular social media app nationwide unless its Chinese owner sells. That means you need to give up the rights to TikTok immediately, today. Under the measures which passed on bipartisan 360 to 58 votes, TikTok parent company ByteDance has up to a year to divest before the prohibition begins. So for those that's on TikTok, which is now roughly 60% women, you have less than more than and I'll be very lenient and very conservative with the time you have. You have a period of under 6 months to start finding a new home. Yes, it is time now that you need to go find a new home. Find a new store. You need to, and you will, because TikTok and the people that run it, you gotta sell it now. United States said we're not putting with this crap. Now I heard previously there was some good information you get from TikTok, yada, and I get it. I understand. I believe you. I truly understand. But the problem is we how the country's right now and how we're in a political season. The United States cannot afford, and they definitely should not afford. Anyway, I don't know why they allowed to run this long as it is, but that's another story. And even TikTok don't put this type of nonsense for their own people, but they put the nonsense here in America that tells you how we're deaf, dumb, blind over here. But that's another question. They're not allowed they spread this so-called false propaganda, pushing nonsense from people so-called trying to get up on one another, people that want to drizzle on people trying to come up by present themselves and not get nothing, and even go as far as putting out stupidness be on the internet for long. But let's read more. President Joe Biden has already expressed support for the efforts which Speaker Mike Johnson attached to a large foreign aid package that includes 3 bills that separate provides billions for Ukraine, Israel, and the Indo-Pacific regions. A previous version passed by the House, and let me see and I'm gonna make this bigger so y'all can see this. There you go. There we go. Okay. Package that include 3 bills separating provides billions for Ukraine, Israel, Indo-Pacific regions. A previous version passed by the House early this year gave ByteDance 6 months to sell. So starting today, by the end of this election cycle, going on to 2025, the people that run TikTok, that it better be sold. I even go as far as you better sell this before the end of summer. At given, you got less than 6 months now. This should be sold immediately now. You better find some tickets now before summertime. Other than that, by the end of this year, and really not the end of this year because it says 6 months. We're in April, so by October, it needs to go. If not, they're gonna step in. So the timing makes sense now. 6 months now. This is April the 20th. So by October the 20th, it better be the power of who owns TikTok better be over to Americans' hands or someone else. It will not be run by the Chinese. Anyhow, let's keep going. A previous version passed by the House early this year gave ByteDance 6 months to sell, but that plan stalled in the Senate. Given that this measure is attached to the foreign aid package, it will be difficult to Congress, the upper chambers, to ignore. Roughly 107 million Americans use TikTok, which has sparked a major debate in the country that has pitted First Amendment advocates against those with growing national security concerns. But you see, the problem is, there's the problem. A man named Serena Gray did talk about the Foreign Aid Act, the Foreign Aid Bill. That might have to be re-looked at. I might have to re-upload that on this channel. He did talk about the foreign aid. Because people don't understand about foreign aid. How foreign aid is very difficult, that they're distributing money to other countries for a reason. If you're not familiar, I will find it and put it on this channel. Prep for a poll. Seeing who's running for president and compare where they stand on key issues in our votes guide. So this is all supposed to tie in, which really, and I'll be honest with you, if that's tied in with the foreign aid bill, it's easy for the United States to really restructure foreign aid now. They could do that now. So don't think that because I read that you're going to still be able to use TikTok the way it is. No. Once foreign aid is attached to it, They have always ways to twitch that a little bit. Let's keep reading. And this is Shanzu Chu, CEO of TikTok, department from the office, Senate John Fitman, DPA at the Russell Senate office building. It is a formation that the House of Representatives is using the cover of important foreign and humanitarian assistance to once again jam through a ban bill that would trample the free speech right of 107 million Americans, devastating 7 million businesses, and shuttering a platform that contributes 24 billion to the U.S. economy annually. The TikTok and Saturday in statements to U.S. Today. Free speech versus national security. You see, people don't understand this. Fuck your free speech. Fuck your feelings. Yes, I'm gonna say it. They're not concerned about the money they make. They're concerned about what is the best interest of the government. And the government has spoken. You think the government is concerned losing money? I want people to really think really crucially. They send money to places like you see what they said up here about Ukraine. They throw billions of dollars for what reason? You think they're concerned about losing 24 billion where they send billions to other places annually, yearly? You know how much money the United States blows overseas? Do we have to go down this rabbit hole? I'm curious. But we're not going to go because I want to keep this segment very short. Let's keep reading. Critics have argued for more than a year how ByteDance could hand over a user personal information to China and its communist-led government. As of yet, there are no public evidence that the app is being used to spy on U.S. citizens, by Forbes magazine reports this month. How TikTok has mishandled the data for top advisors. Those who oppose the legislation, such as U.S. Senator Rand Paul, said it will unconstitutionally restrict Americans' free speech right and could impact small business owners who benefit from the use of the platform. Well, you know, like anything, if it's going to deal with national security and the better interests of the government and people that really try and pull agendas, they will pull the plug. And they will, and they have done it. Don't be so delusional. Let's keep going. If the ban takes hold, it would mark the first time the U.S. government has shut down an entire social media app, which is likely to ignite a legal battle in the courts, which they're fine to deal with. A Pew Research poll released last December showed 38% of Americans support banning TikTok, compared to 27% who oppose and 35% of who are unsure about the ideas. That is down when compared to the 50% who said Congress should get rid of the app in March last year. And it should have done it, but you know. The survey also found those altitudes flipped when U.S. adults under the age of 30 were as among younger Americans, 41% oppose a ban versus 29% who support and 30% who remain unsure. That's the article. I'm definitely going to put this somewhere, and I might put it in maybe in the description. Maybe I'm going to put this somewhere here. I'm definitely going to put this somewhere here. Anyhow. Oh, that's nice. Anyhow, this was nice. I hope you guys gained some from this. I hope you guys learned something from this, personally. I'm not the bearer or giver of any news, but I just cover it as I see it. I heard this was floating around yesterday, and I came to the conclusion to share this portion of the segment to y'all. But other than that, leave your thoughts and comments below to this section here. I'm looking forward to hear too. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel. And please, enjoy your day. Until next time, take care.